The Civ 7 workshop build has introduced major triumphs, and I think they perfectly highlight one of the biggest problems in the game right now. These bonuses look new, shiny, and impactful, but in practice, they barely change how you play. This is all from the latest playtest branch, so yes, everything is still work in progress, but if this is the direction they're heading, we gotta talk about it. Today we're diving into the most egregious examples and breaking down why these triumphs feel so bland and forgettable, at least to me. I'm a big time hater on games giving out minor stat boosts and calling it a reward. We've all had that moment where you beat a boss and your reward is swapping out your +3 damage longsword for a +4 damage longsword. Now yes, this is technically better, a massive 32.33, repeating of course, percentage damage increase, but it won't change how you play in the slightest. A simple change can keep the power increase the same while making the effect far more satisfying to use. Instead of a +4 damage longsword as we had before, imagine if your new reward was a +3 damage longsword with the effect every third hit deals double damage. This provides the exact same DPS increase, but in practice is far more satisfying to use. The first hit is you committing to that attack, the second hit is the build up, and you know you're now just one hit away from the big one, which can cause you to play differently, aka more greedily, and the third hit is the reward. The big payoff. You can add extra visual effects here for bonus satisfaction. How does this relate to Civ? Well, right now, there are a lot of +4 damage longswords in Civ 7. Starting with some antiquity major triumphs that I think are good examples of what I'm talking about. We have Arthasastra and Round Earther. Now these two triumphs both give +25% towards espionage and projects, respectively. Despite being a major triumph and requiring you to dedicate quite a few resources to satisfy the requirement, their effects are helpful at best and barely noticeable at worst. In either case, I really don't think it'll change the way you play the game. If you already decided you're not going to focus on espionage in the next stage, having roughly 25% cheaper and faster espionage actions likely isn't going to change that decision. And if you are going to be spying, this effect is going to be barely noticeable. You'll be able to complete 5 espionage actions in the time it would have taken to complete 4. Sounds a bit like that longsword I mentioned, right? For Arthasastra, the simplest fix would be to have this unlock new espionage actions in the next stage. On the safe side, you could bring back the gain sources action, which you can run on a leader to guarantee your future espionage actions always succeed. Or for something that takes up a little more dev time, how about widening the scope of what areas of the game espionage can impact? Converting a city-state over to your side and make them your suzerain out from under another player. One of my favourite things from previous games as well was gaining top secret access to other civs and being able to go into their cities and see their production queues. I'd love for that to come back. Similarly, Round Earther could provide the player with a new project in the next stage exclusive to them. If this path is meant to be all about naval exploration, how about allowing the player to ignore rough seas as soon as they research cartography? And completing the mastery could allow the player to see the winds of trade on specific ocean tiles, which refresh the unit's movement if they pass through it. Rewarding their dedication to the pursuit of navigation, this will give the player a big leg up towards winning the race for circumnavigation in the next stage, and would actively change the way you traverse the seas. Now these are all very rough ideas obviously, but I'm trying to distance the game from simple percentage modifiers as rewards. And while my feedback here is specific to triumphs, I'd hope this sort of design lens can be cast over a lot of the effects in Civ 7. The recent additions like Tonga, Blackbeard, and the Pirates inspire a lot of hope when it comes to great examples of abilities that add entirely new facets to the game, rather than just adding a 10% modifier here and there and calling it a day. I want these major triumphs to be major. It's right there in the name. These should be 3 big modifiers for the next stage that shake up and define your strategy. Unlock new pathways and options, not just make the limited options that you have slightly more efficient. Interestingly, they have already changed a few of these since the first workshop. Water Gaius, for example, used to simply provide 25% more commander experience the next stage. What they've got here is at least an improvement over the first iteration. And before we get into the next set of triumphs, one of which might be a contender for the most boring dedication reward in the game, I might add, if you want to see everything else that's different in the workshop build, not just major triumphs, I did a full breakdown with the wonderful Paisley trees, where we go through all the other changes coming in the Test of Time update and provide our thoughts. So I'll link that in the comments below. But let's keep it moving with Wonders of the Ancient World and Orphic Mysteries. Wonders of the Ancient World is a familiar face. On live, this is a dedication you can take, though you never would, that gives +1 culture and +1 happiness on Wonders. Now buffed in the workshop to give 2 culture and 2 production on Wonders, this is a massive improvement in power and provides a reasonable payoff for Wonder spamming builds. The condition is a 1-to-1 carryover from the live cultural legacy path, and isn't a particularly complicated requirement, but a satisfying one to achieve nonetheless. However, when you only get 3 choices to take with you in the next stage, this is hardly going to entice you. As it stands, this is a stock standard triumph. It rewards you for doing what it tells you to do, and in this case, the reward is at least 14 culture in production from turn 1 of exploration, which is alright. Not to mention that this will continue to provide more value as you build more wonders throughout the exploration age. Additionally, I appreciate that although the condition is static, build 7 wonders, there is essentially built-in power scaling as the Triumph continues to reward you for going beyond 7 wonders, which is something that many other Triumphs lack. Although this reward is reasonably powerful, I think a neat secondary effect would be to make all of your wonders provide +2 adjacency to buildings instead of +1. This has the potential to significantly shake up how the player plans their cities to make full use of the wonder adjacencies, especially considering the changes to specialists, making adjacency effects more important than ever. By contrast, we have Orphic Mysteries, which has the requirement of building 5 altars and the Oracle. Now right off the bat, that is a fair amount of altars, and a pretty early wonder to try and grab too. So you're never going to get this incidentally, you have to go out of your way to achieve it, which I like. However, there's no real reward for going beyond 5 altars, and although I do like the perk of unlocking Piety from turn 1 for an instant religion, the second part that gives plus 25% production towards temples is horrendous. This means that in the time it would usually take you to build 4 temples, you instead get 5. There's that longsword again. I think the reward for this one could be a lot stronger considering the harsh unlock requirement. How about being able to keep your pantheon by adding it to your religion in the exploration age? This would not only be a powerful effect in and of itself, but it would make you consider your pantheon pick with a much longer term view of the value it could provide over 2 ages rather than just the one. Maybe you don't have a lot of fishing tiles for God of the Sea right now, but the land you are thinking of expanding to in the next stage is mostly coastal, so it could be the better pick long term. Anyway, these are just some of my thoughts from a couple brief weeks of play. I think the systems Firaxis has implemented have a ton of potential, but they just need to go a little wilder when it comes to the rewards. I think there's a lot of playing it safe that doesn't translate to wildly fun games, but a stable and balanced experience that risks getting samey over time. And I worry that the Triumphs are being praised right now because of their newness factor, but they risk getting stale over time just as Legacy Paths did. I'm a little concerned overall that Firaxis is focusing on the wrong areas of the game with this Test of Time update and replacing things that don't need replacing, like the Legacy Paths. I can't help but wonder how the game would look if this dev time had been spent on uplifting underdeveloped areas like religion and diplomacy, but here we are. At the very least, I figured I'd voice my thoughts to make the parts they are actively working on as good as they can be. And to that end, I would really encourage you to all keep an eye out for the next workshop so you too can hop in and provide your feedback on these drastic foundational changes coming to Civ 7. That's all I've got for you today. Let me know your thoughts on Triumphs more broadly down below. Are you a fan of them? Do you think they're an improvement over the Legacy Paths? I'm not so sure personally, but keen to hear what you have to say. And special thanks goes to the channel members, Chris J, In Paladin, Awesome Daisy, Chase Bandy, and Tronty Wanty. The support is very much appreciated as always. Thanks for watching everyone, have a good one and stay safe.